the fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time. In both the first reading and the Gospel, we have the issue of unworthiness or unholiness. This is the reflection of the prophet Isaiah and then of Peter when they each encounter God, and their reaction is a universal one. I am unworthy of you, Lord. I am a sinner. Isaiah has a vision of the glory of God, and his reaction is to acknowledge his own sinfulness in the face of all goodness, God himself. He hears the angels sing, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. All the earth is filled with his glory." The song of the seraphim is, of course, now sung by us each time we come to Mass, to that moment of declaring, "Holy, holy, holy." We echo the prayer of the angels, and we join in worshiping God with them, and they with us. Isaiah uses the expression, "Woe is me, I am doomed, for I am a man of unclean lips, living among a people of unclean lips." He acknowledges his unworthiness in seeing God with the expression, "unclean lips," which is not just to call attention to his mouth, but he uses the expression unclean as a way of confessing his sin and the sin of his people. He verbalizes what others have in falling down or kneeling down to worship. Upon encountering God, anyone who would react in a different way would be delusional or suffering from the inability to reflect on one's own conduct. Not to acknowledge sinfulness would be for a creature created by God to be unaware of being a creature in the face of God. When Isaiah expresses his sinfulness, God responds. God sends an angel to make holy the unholy. For Isaiah, a purification by looking upon the Almighty. It's a burning away of unholiness with the image of purifying unclean lips. Lips that now will only speak righteousness, goodness, and truth. In the Gospel, we hear a very similar experience. Peter, a skilled fisherman, is unable to catch fish. He and his fishing companions worked all night. Imagine not only the frustration of not catching anything, but also of having to work all night, as was the custom of the fishermen on the Sea of Galilee. If any of you have ever worked the grave night shift, you know the tiredness and the out of sorts you feel each day. As a high school student, I had a summer job working in a bakery. It was an overnight job making donuts. Well, I was not actually making the donuts. I was the donut finisher. I had to put the jelly or the cream or to coat them in chocolate or powdered sugar 2 donuts at a time. And like an idiot on my first night, I never thought that I needed a nap before going to work all night long. And so around 3 a.m. that very first night, I just sat down. I told the bakers I could not do anything else. I'm too tired. So they got to work finishing the 144 dozen donuts. Yes, over 1,700 of them, minus the ones I ate. St. Peter had worked all night and caught nothing. And Jesus tells him, "Cast the net one more time. Of course, here is a former carpenter telling a fisherman how to fish. But he is more than a carpenter, for they call him Master. Put out into the deep water and lower your nets for a catch. Master, we have worked hard all night and have caught nothing, but at your command I will lower the nets. And following his command, they caught a great number of fish, so many that their nets were tearing. And after they hauled the fish ashore, Peter is overwhelmed with the experience of the large catch. And his reaction, not unlike Isaiah, is to fall to the feet of Jesus and say, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." Peter recognizes the holiness of Jesus, and he responds to his own unworthiness. "I am a sinner. Depart from me." But what is Jesus' response? Do not be afraid. Jesus knows Peter's faults, his unfaithfulness, his sinfulness. But that does not stop Jesus from calling him to follow him and to be the leader of the followers of Jesus. From fishermen to fishers of men and women, searching for salvation in Jesus Christ. For many people, guilt or shame of past sinfulness might become an obstacle to following Jesus, an obstacle to saying yes. We might say, "I am unworthy. How can God forgive me?" But that is, unfortunately, a human response, based on only what we think we are capable of. God's response is that there is nothing impossible for God. Peter knows he is a sinner. He tells Jesus, "Depart from me." Jesus responds by calling him to follow him. This is how Jesus responds to all of us. Follow me. And in following Christ, we begin a journey of becoming more Christ-like, becoming holy, setting past unfaithfulness in the past. The response of the fishermen is when they brought their boats to the shore, they left everything and followed him. This can be our response as well, leaving the past behind and following Jesus.